they go through all of the safety training, telling you, you have to spread your legs once you get towards the bottom, keep your body flat, and they're going through all of these things. I'm like, okay, I'm mentally picturing it all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, who wants to go first? And this lady standing next to me says, we'll go first. And I look over, and I'll be darned if it wasn't Susan.
Welcome to the KnifeWife podcast. I'm Suz, married to Bob Terzuola. This podcast is about couples who live, love, and work together. And it has little to do with knives. Well, Bob, we're back. They let us in the doors again. They haven't locked us out yet.
Nope, not yet.
So here we are for the KnifeWife podcast. Thanks everybody who listens, and thanks to everybody who's written to me some questions, which are fun. People say to me, what is your podcast about? And I tell them everything and nothing. But it is, I hope, a break from toxic media, because there's so much of that I am bombarded with. So that's why I started this. And I say we answer questions no one asks. And we don't use Wikipedia because I married Wikipedia. So
Very funny.
Very funny.
Okay.
So we have one question today from someone for this episode, and it's from Annie G in Vermont. And I know Annie G from many years ago, so I had no idea she was listening, but thanks, Annie. And her question is, will you ever make knives, or have you made knives? Boy, what a loaded question. I have never made a knife. I don't think it's that I don't have the skills to make a knife. I probably do have the skills. I can make lots of other things. But one, it's Bob's side of the road. And I used to make jewelry in his shop out of the scraps from his knives and handle materials and whatever. And I sold them on Etsy, and that was very successful. But working in the same shop day in and day out was just too much, one. And then my other thought has always been, if I were to learn how to grind a blade, I would never be let out of the shop. I would be stuck there forever.
I would have an official blade grinder, so I wouldn't have to do it myself.
Right. So I think that's a safe place for me to stay. So thanks, Annie. That's the best answer I have.
But in fairness to me, I have offered several times and asked you if you wanted to.
I have not done it. Lots of people come and make knives in Bob's shop, and they say, oh, are you going to be with us? You going to make a knife? No, I'm responsible for lunch, snacks, and entertainment. So this episode is going to be titled The New Mexicans, because we have our friends Michael and Vivian, or Zippy, as I call her, with us today. And say hello, Michael. Say hello, Zippy.
Hello there.
Hello, Michael.
I know.
What was I supposed to
Bob
say?
says hello, Bob. I knew you would say something like that.
Yeah.
You guys are
Well,
cut from the same pun cloth. Anyway, before I met them, I had moved to New Mexico. I'd lived in New Mexico for maybe, 10 years before I met them. And we met them, we'll talk about that later, through Bob's work. But when I first moved to New Mexico, there's a saying that from the first governor of New Mexico, that everything that was successful elsewhere fails in New Mexico. And I always thought that was kind of harsh. I thought, well, Lew Wallace, was that his name, Bob?
Lew Wallace,
Lew
correct.
Wallace, yep.
The guy who wrote Ben-Hur, by the way.
Oh, there we go. There's a Bob factoid. Thank you. And so, I came from Chicago, and literally when I arrived in Albuquerque, you could hear the brakes like the Roadrunner, stopping, because I came from someplace where everybody moved at the speed of light and everybody was hustling. And everybody was laid back in New Mexico. They were like, it's not the land of mañana, it's the land of whenever. And I embraced that, actually, and probably met some of the people like Michael and Vivian and some other friends that I'm the closest to in my life, and Bob is too. And so there's something to be said for that. And also, being as eccentric as I am, I really didn't stand out. And in Chicago, I stood out. And so it was kind of nice to blend in. And I had a kid who didn't necessarily blend in everywhere. And so he didn't stand out. Although he had red hair, that was his only tell. So I moved there, and I didn't know Bob at the time. But after Bob and I were together, I'm a gardener, and I wanted his house in Santa Fe to have a pretty backyard. I said, well, what if we put flagstones, and I grew blooming thyme, like a creeping thyme, not like time travelers, like thyme with a TH, What if we put that in between, and that'll grow like, a little pretty, it'll bloom for a couple months of the year, and it'll be green for the rest of the year, and we'll put these stones down, these flagstones down. So he was down with that. So we went to a place with this contractor, and we picked out the stone we wanted, and he said they said they would deliver it sometime this week. And he told us, well, we'll be there Sunday. I'll start with my crew. So I'm like, okay, cool. Sunday came, never showed up. I started calling him. He never called me back. I mean, I left a lot of messages. So finally, I got somebody else to do the work and lay the flagstones. But, if you know Bob has to Bob-eyes everything. And he had to move those stones. They were just a little too far apart, which somehow he didn't notice until they were after all they were all down. And these were tons of stones. I forget. Do you remember how many tons of stones there was? It was a lot.
No, it was 4.5, something like that.
Yeah,
maybe even more.
Yeah, that's a lot of tons. So anyway, so he said, well, they're too far apart. I need to put them just slightly, like a half inch closer together. And, this is his nickname. One of his nicknames, he has many, is Mr. Thousandths of an Inch. And I love that about him. And I don't love that about him. So what he did was, in the hot summer, he took a pry bar, and for an hour every day, he moved some of the stones just closer together. And then as they got closer together, they didn't really all fit together either. So then he had to pick them up and move them. And it was quite a job. He might as well have laid the stone himself. Anyway, so he took him, I think, most of the summer, right, Bob? In the fall, I planted the thyme with the TH.
Yes, it did.
And I made a beautiful garden there. But so that was my first, it's people who live in New Mexico, it's hard to get contractors. It's hard to get people to give you an estimate. It's hard to get people to show up when they say they're going to show up. And I'm not saying there aren't people, but as a rule, especially in Santa Fe, it was tough. And when my son and I first moved to New Mexico, it was 107 degrees. And he loved riding his bike. And so we lived in a subdivision, and he went out to ride his bike on the street, and his bike, the tires melted into the pavement, and he made these trails all up and down our street from his tires on his bike. And he came in the house, he goes, "Where have we moved to, hell?" And I said, "Well, it's July. It's normally hot." I said, "But it'll cool off later today. It's going to rain because there's monsoon season here." And so, well, what can I say? We met Bob. I would never have met Bob if I hadn't moved there. So I thank my son for going to the school he went to that taught him to read and write. That in Illinois, after to 8th grade, they hadn't taught him past the 1st grade. So I'm very grateful for that. So it was a good move. Anyway, so many years later, Bob was doing some water jet cutting, and someone told him about a guy in the South Valley who was great. And that's how we met Michael, and then soon to meet Vivian. So
don't forget to finish your story about the contractor coming back.
Oh yeah, oh yes. So thank you, Michael. Oh my God. 1 year later, on this patio, we were having a graduation party for my son from high school, and we had all these people there. And my phone rings, and it's the contractor who originally had picked out the stone with us, and he said, "Hi, this is blah, blah."
Jacob. His name was Jacob.
Well, I wasn't going to say his name, but okay.
I'll say his name. Jacob, in case you're listening.
Yeah, Jacob's the one who planted the tree in the backyard and left the chicken wire around the base. And you said, "That tree has never grown." And I started digging around. I said, "That's because it's bound up in chicken wire." But anyway, so he called me and he said, "Hi, it's Jacob. And my guys are ready to put down the stone today." I said, "Really?" I said, "Is this a prank? Are you kidding?" I said, "It's a year later." I said, "No, someone's already done it." And then somebody redid it, called Bob. But anyway, so that was the end of him. Thank you, Michael, for reminding me of that. ADD, it's a killer. Anyway, so I think I'm going to go to how Michael and Vivian met each other, and they can tell the story, because like many, many couples that I meet all the time, they met at work. And really today, unless you're on today, it's all on the computer and dating sites and whatever. In the old days, people went to bars and got really drunk, and that was about it. And or maybe you went to church, I don't know. But I certainly wasn't there at that time. And so anyway, so tell us, Michael and Vivian, about how you met at work. And Vivian, maybe you can tell the story, because he was your boss, right?
What? Wait.
Interestingly enough, no, I heard Susan. She said me first. This
Jeez.
is how this is gonna go.
Go, Viv. Go, Zippy.
I'm actually from Santa Fe. I actually went to
know.
school with Bob's children.
You did.
Didn't realize that we were going to come back into the full circle of the life with
Yes.
And
Bob
you
and
did, and we're
Susan.
very happy you did.
And so I moved to Rio Rancho to buy a home.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day I walked in, I met one of my coworkers, and he grunted at me. He didn't say hi. He didn't say screw you. He didn't say anything nice. He just said, Like, what is that? Like, I had no idea that he hated me before I walked in the door, but he did.
Was that true, Michael? Did you really hate her, or are you just not social?
So I was told that we were hiring somebody to take over the weekends because I'd been working the weekends. And I got out of the restaurant business for that particular reason.
Yeah.
Because I hate working the weekends. I'm like, that's my time.
Yeah.
And this girl gets hired, and I was told that she was going to take over the weekends, but then I came to find out that she wasn't taking
weekends.
over. She had children.
2 kids.
Yeah.
This
That
girl.
was my weekends.
Uh-huh.
And so
You two.
And I was a manager at this point. I was running the show. So I'm like, really, we're hiring somebody that can't even do the job already.
I could do the job.
Just not when you wanted her to.
Just not on the weekends.
Yeah. Okay. So
it was definitely a tumultuous beginning, if you will. She was forced to spend a lot of time with me, and if anyone is ever forced to spend a lot of time with me, I have certain effects on them. So I'll let her pick up.
Yeah, you finish. Yeah, proceed, Viv.
I can attest to that.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate that.
I mean, it even got to the point where I couldn't take a drink of water from the water fountain without coming up with a water song and a water dance. Now, mind you, we worked in a bunny suit, so we had full gear.
Wait, you worked in a bunny suit?
I was in a bunny suit in the clean room.
At Intel. We were at Intel in the clean room.
So complete suit, top to bottom, and I couldn't drink water without singing a water song.
Uh-huh.
And it could be any water song.
So describe a bunny suit, because in my mind, I'm thinking pink, ears, big nose, whiskers. That's not a bunny suit.
It is white. Uh-huh. It is white. You are covered from head to toe in a Tyvek suit. The only thing that you can see are the eyes.
Okay.
Which my wife, don't tell her I said this, but she has very, very beautiful eyes.
She does.
So
Sucker,
yeah.
All right. So Vivian,
I was her boss, and yes, we had some standards. You kind of go a little stir crazy. Yes. You go a little stir crazy. Yeah. Standards. You go a little stir crazy being in that environment.
Yeah.
And I try and make, no matter what I do, I try and make a game of things or a little bit fun. And the water dance and song I don't even know where it came from. But you had to sing a song that was related to water. So I think
Moon River.
Anything.
Wipeout.
Wipeout was a big favorite.
Singing in the Rain. Okay.
Yeah. So any song that had, and it helped keep the mind from going a little mental.
I see. More mental.
More mental. She would also she would hate it when we would have to take parts, and because by the time it takes a long time to use the restroom, I think about 45 minutes, and I would always have her do the last bit of work.
He would talk to everybody along the way and then make me go deliver the parts.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It was funny.
You guys have come a long way since that job. Let me tell you, you got some big jobs now. So that's
we have.
But
yes.
You couldn't have met if you didn't do that. And do you every now and then just ask her at night, honey, could you wear that bunny suit to bed again?
We never invested in a bunny suit. Huh, interesting. I think that would be more bunny ears.
Okay. Yeah, more pink and furry. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then there was a leaning game, which if you can keep it a little bit clean, I would appreciate that.
So this one's all you, honey.
Yeah,
we had to do some cleaning of parts, and we had to, there was a calibration. There was things that we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would just lean on him to look over his shoulder to see where he was at. and it became somewhat of a leaning game.
Mm.
So we had a good friend that also worked with us that
Nicest guy. Nicest, very super
very
super
nice
nice
guy.
guy. Very
Wanted to
very
play the leaning game too.
Oh, but he
So
didn't
I would
get
be
it.
sitting there putting the parts, and he'd be leaning on me, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, God, you weirdo.
Because he wanted to play the leaning game.
Oh, okay.
when my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, she was actually married at the time, which is a little ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was married at the time. We never did anything. We were pretty.
I know, because she left her job before you did anything.
Of course
right?
not. You guys were wearing bunny suits. How could you do anything?
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you had to like break her arm so she would leave. So then no, that wasn't right.
I
That's
went
not right.
running. There was some stalking that was going. I don't know where that came from,
Some
but I was
stalking,
not
yes.
me.
Yeah. So you left the
Stalker
job,
says
you
what?
stopped working together, all these games and whatever, which sound like fun to me. I'd probably be doing that all day long instead of doing my work.
We
But
had
that's
fun.
me.
We did.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
Michael's fun. You guys are both fun. So, that makes sense. And so the flame was lit at the point you left the job, though, right? I mean,
It was lit. It was lit, but we figured, okay, we have to wait. And so as soon as I got divorced,
mm-hmm.
he may have been the first or second call I made, honestly.
Really?
To go meet up with him.
Yeah, you met up with him
let
for
him know.
lunch, and you just, you
we
went at it.
definitely made out in the car. We
Mhm.
didn't go any further. I'm not saying we never done anything in the car, but we didn't do anything then in the car.
Oh, God.
Was the ink dry on the paper when you started doing that?
Probably not.
Dry
Probably.
enough.
Dry enough.
Dry
Yep.
enough.
Yep, that gavel had come down. Done. Okay. Well, I love that story. And if anyone who knows them listens to this, they'll know that, they're very playful and they very much love each other. And they've worked in many capacities together. In fact, Vivian had 2 children, and Michael raised those kids pretty much. And he's been a great dad and a stepdad, as Bob has been. And Bob adopted my Alex this year, which I still ugly cry when I think about it. Anyway, but
Me
you guys,
too.
yeah, and you guys have done like marriage encounter at your church and you're Boy Scout leaders. But before we get to that, if Bob had not been getting things water jet cut, we never would have met.
So yeah,
Michael.
I had been at the water jet job for a while, and I'd worked with a lot of different knife makers, and this new guy came in, and he was, I wouldn't say he was a know-it-all, but you could tell he had some knowledge behind him.
I beg your pardon?
No pardons necessary. And we got to talking. He knew a lot about. He had done his research, if you will, and he had some projects that he wanted to get started, and we started working together. He would bring designs in, or he had files in the beginning. Very very nice. Always very cordial and very generous. He would bring some swag in every once in a while, shirts and whatnot.
One time you guys invited us for lunch, remember? And you played that trivia
we did.
game.
We
and we
did.
knew all
We
the
did.
answers, and we were never
Yes.
invited back.
Right. I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah, they didn't go over well. I don't know why.
Well, us being in the same room and going over projects and stuff, Bob would say, "Hey, you've got a pretty good mind for this. You want to make a knife?" And I would say no. I just it just seemed kind of weird. I was like, I don't know, and he asked me a few times, and then I think we met. My brother had a restaurant, and we were
Right.
out to dinner there,
Farm
and
and Table,
you guys
right?
were farm and table, and you guys were there as well, and we met and we talked, and we all kind of got along swimmingly,
Mhm.
and I said, all right. He asked me one more time, and I said, all right, we'll do it. So I went back to my shop at work, and I designed a knife, and I got everything cut, and I went and met Bob for the first time at his house. I had never been there, and he kind of gave me the tour and showed me his shop. And I said, "Well, I brought these pieces here. I designed this knife." And he goes, "Really?" He goes, "Well, most people that would come to my shop. We make one of my knives, and I was, oh, well, we could do that. And he goes, no, 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 I like this. And I was like, okay.
Oh yeah.
So it was a little tough because I had taken some things that I didn't know because it was just very new to me. And he made them work. He made them work. Not only they worked really well. I still have that knife in my pocket, and it's a gorgeous knife. It's a great design. Not patting myself on the back because I had, Bob as a muse. When you're able to look at the knives,
you can pat on the back. It really is a gorgeous knife. It works well, and it's a very unique design. I like it a lot. I liked it right from the beginning.
So we got through with that knife, and he says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, let's make another. So I went and designed a similar design. It wasn't a few things I did differently, and made that knife, and then that led to another knife, and at that point, he's like, well, you're going to have to sell some of these at some point. And I was like, oh, geez, I want to keep them all. They're so beautiful. And so I started working on a set of knives, if you will. And he says, well, we're going to this show. Do you want to kind of go with us?
Right, because Bob will sell out his knives in the first hour. So he said, then put them on the table when I'm done.
Something for people to look at, right?
Yep, and it was in Las Vegas.
But around that same time, I would show up every Friday at your guys' place around 1:00.
Mm-hmm.
I would have lunch with my wife at noon, and then I would go to
He
your
was very
guys'
quick
place.
to leave me, just so you guys know. He really wanted his Fridays with Bob.
He did. Well, it was a very special time, actually, for both of them. It really was.
Fridays with Michael. We really enjoyed them.
Yeah. So anyway, go on, Michael.
We started, like we would still be, I don't know, ready to hang out some more after we were done working in the shop. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we went to dinner one night. You guys said you were going somewhere. You want to go? And I said, well, let me call Vivian. And I think we all met.
Yep.
I think we went to Nexus.
Nexus.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right.
Chicken and waffles.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh,
Hello.
such good chicken.
I know. Such good everything.
And then that turned into movies, and then
Mm-hmm.
more dinners. And we just, got along famously. And then
And then
that led
Bob, he taught you, he made his chicken Milanese when you were there. And I have pictures of you guys in the kitchen in our house, him pounding it between the pieces of parchment paper, the chicken.
Right.
And you standing over the frying pans. Well, I don't know why you were watching them cook, but maybe it was for the picture. I don't know.
I have a background in cooking, and working in the restaurant field, and his that dish is delicious. It's phenomenal.
We're having it tonight,
If you ever have a
actually.
chance, any listeners, just show up at their house. I'm sure Bob will make it for you. You don't even have to call. You don't even have to call.
Well, because of Michael's idea, we do these deep dives that we shoot for our shop dragons. We're going to do a bonus one of Bob. He's going to teach people how to make his chicken Milanese. So that's the best episode because we get to eat it afterwards.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
I'll send you a piece,
So when
Michael.
should we plan on going?
Okay, we'll work that out. Perfect. Yeah, because it is good. I'm having it tonight, leftover tonight, and he doesn't even eat it anymore. He's going to have something that I don't eat. He loves
spaghetti
anchovies.
with anchovy sauce.
Yeah.
Well, I like anchovies.
Oh, it's good.
I never had spaghetti with anchovy sauce.
Yeah, well, and oil and anchovies. It's pretty good. I mean, you have to like the slimy, dark anchovies. I like the anchovies that are white and fresh that they serve you in Italy. Somehow Bob skipped that and went right to the canned version. But anyway, so we were going to our first show. You were going to your first show with us, right?
First show did famously. The girls left us. I don't know where they went.
Yes, you do.
They'll tell you. But I did great. Sold out my first show, which is pretty awesome. It felt really good.
You know why? They thought they were
I-
Bob's knives they were buying.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
No, because they were great knives and very unusual
Oh,
shapes.
yes. Oh, completely different than Bob's.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Everyone
Yes,
knows they're nothing
completely
like
different.
Bob's knives. But I always I never got to say that. I'd say, oh, they just thought they were buying Bob's knives.
Right?
Oh, look, he has more.
I'll ride that coattail all day long. I am fine.
Okay.
If people are comparing me, if they think that my work is his work, geez, that's the best compliment you could give me.
Nice.
Nice. But we did really good. I had a blast. The knife culture is phenomenal. Those of people that are listening that don't know that everyone is super, super nice. They're very generous, very giving, very sweet. Don't get me wrong. Every culture, if you will, has its negatives, and that has as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it's a beautiful beautiful culture. People are just really, really awesome. I always enjoyed talking to them and meeting new people, and everyone I met was just as nice as the last.
I know. You know, my brother, the loafer-wearing golfer, came to one knife show in California, and he wasn't so sure about it, but he wanted to see. It was the fanciest show Bob does. And so he only wanted fanciest, so he wanted to see this and see people buying 20,000. Bob's knives were in 20,000, but he just wanted to see people buying these expensive knives. And he had a blast, and he was so surprised. And then his girlfriend came to, what did she come to last year?
The TKI.
The TKI. And she...
Tactical Knife Invitational.
Yeah, she had a blast at the show. She said, well, when's your next show? We said, well, not for another 6 months. Oh. Anyway, she had a blast there, and people are surprised, I think. I mean, she didn't know anything. My brother knew nothing about knives. When Bob made him a knife when he first met him, he made him a custom knife, and my brother's like, what am I going to do with this? It sat on his coffee table like a knick-knack. He didn't know. Couldn't even open the knife. So, but the knife shows, you're right, Michael. It's a nice community. I certainly never thought I would be in this community, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, and I was happy to tag along.
Yes. Well, and
show.
so Zippy was coming, and the show was at Planet Hollywood, which, we love the promoters who put on the show, but I am not a fan of Planet Hollywood for many reasons. It's a destination for bachelor parties and bachelorette parties, and every time time we went before that, every time I got in the elevator, someone was either throwing up or had just thrown up, and we were on like the 16th floor, and I was like, I'm taking the stairs. So anyway, I didn't want to hang around Planet Hollywood. I'm not a gambler or whatever, and I knew Zippy was coming, and I was going to have, but her name was Vivian then. I knew Viv was coming, and I wanted to do something fun. And some of the other knife wives go take like a yoga class or whatever. And I did yoga in the late 60s, early 70s. Been there, done that. I'm glad it's back for everybody and they're happy, but and not my thing. So I said to her, I saw this, what to do in Las Vegas. And there's a 2.5 mile zip line. She said, where? On the Strip? I said, no, it's out in the desert somewhere. And I said, it's a whole day trip. You go out there and they drive you out to this location, but it's 2.5 miles. Now,
so I've always wanted to zip line, just to be clear. And I had no idea how far 2.5 miles really was
right.
until I got to the top of that mountain.
Right.
It's long. It's long.
And we had to stop in between every half mile. It stopped because you got going pretty fast. But anyway, so I said to Vivian at the time, was her name. I said, you want to go to this? And she's like, yeah, okay, cool, let's go. So we had no idea what we were in for. None. So we meet this place, we take this bus. It's like, it was the short bus, which really made me laugh because I'm like, I'm finally on the short bus. I never had to take one, but here I am and I'm embracing every moment of it. And it was a bus that probably should have been retired, but we were on it. So anyway, we drive out, we go out there, and these young children practically were helping us put our harnesses on and stuff. And Vivian, I'll let you take it from there. I think this is a good place for you to.
They go through all of the safety training, telling you, you have to spread your legs once you get towards the bottom, keep your body flat, and they're going through all of these things. I'm like, okay, I'm mentally picturing it all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, who wants to go first? And this lady standing next to me says, we'll go first. And I look over, and I'll be darned if it wasn't Susan. Like, what? Or what do you mean we're going first? I'm like, okay, let's go.
I'm a firster. I always volunteer first everything I go to. I don't know why.
I didn't know that.
Well,
I would have put us farther in the line.
There we go.
So we go down, and it was so much fun. If you've never done a zip line and you get the opportunity, it is a lot of fun.
It is. And we were a mile high, right? Mile up in the air on the zip line, so that if you were to fall off, that would be it. I mean,
that would be it.
No chute, no nothing. That would be it. And it was got a little windy when we were out there. And I was the second. Did I go? I don't know. I was at the one
No, I
point.
think you made me go first.
Okay, so you went first, and then we would stop every half mile. So there, we would stop on these little hills, and because they had to slow us down, because for me, I love going 100 miles an hour, mile high. That's right up my alley. But I was thinking my father, Captain Safety. Oh my God, he's probably rolling in his grave. But but the last one, we didn't go first for all the other ones. I don't think.
No, I don't.
Other
think we
people,
did either.
you said to me, I'm not doing this again first. Let them go. So, so this wind started to come up, and I was the last person to go on the last leg of this zip line. And the wind started pushing me from side to side. And so I didn't have any force behind me to make it to the next hill. So they called to me and they said, we're going to send, I stopped in the middle. So I'm hanging on the zip line. And Zippy can see me. Now we're calling her Zippy.
Little monkey gets on top of the thing and starts going towards her and starts pulling her in slowly.
Yeah, gives me the rope, pulls me in
sight.
slowly. You're right. And I'm thinking, so I'm trying to hold on to the cable because I think any moment the wind is going to knock me off this freaking thing. And, I'm going to crash to my death. I mean, it will be a great ending story, but I'm not ready. So, Zip's looking at me. She's smiling because, then they said, oh, well, you weren't heavy enough to make it to the other side. And it was the only time in my entire life someone said, you're not heavy enough, ever. But so everyone clapped when I got there, and Zippy was happy to see me and glad it was over, I think. and
Until we get back into the short bus,
right,
mind you. So we're driving back, no problem. And the bus driver stops on the railroad tracks. I'm an insurance person. That is dangerous. I was so mad. I whacked him on the side of the head. I'm like, you have to go. Like, what are you doing? You're going to kill us. And I see the train coming. And I don't know if I blocked out or he pulled back. I don't even know what happened at that point.
Oh, he pulled over it, but the car was stalled. The bus wasn't turning over. He was, and we could see the train coming down the tracks at us. And, Zippy's like, I don't die from this mile-high thing, but I'm going to get killed in the short bus by a train in the middle of the desert. Anyway, so the bus did go over the tracks. And
you guys made it? Oh, my God.
I know. Shocking, right?
Yeah, we made it.
Didn't want to spoil it.
And then we go back to the office where they check people in, and there's other people who want to do the later. I picked the earlier morning one because I knew it'd be hot because, we're from the desert. And so there were these people, and you have to weigh in. They didn't have us weigh in when we got there. Do you remember them?
We waited.
We did? Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, at that time, they didn't tell me I wasn't heavy enough. But anyway, so there were these people that were like 350 pounds, and they're like, oh, no, you can't go on it.
They were kind of close because she's like, let me go to the bathroom real quick. Let me just go to the bathroom and then weigh in again.
And he's like, can I take my jacket off? And they're like, no. And I looked at them and I said, you don't want to be overweight. You're going to be a mile in the air. And we just got our ride ended. I was the last person because of the wind. So maybe you want to go do something else in Las Vegas, not this. Anyway, so we came home looking like someone had shot us out of a cannon back to the hotel. And but I think we had the most fun of anybody at that show that weekend.
I think so too. That was way funner than yoga.
Thank
you for not dragging me there because I would have gone with you. But.
I know. I won't go. I'm at the age now that when I was younger, people would say, okay, like in my 20s, they'd say, okay, we're going to go here. And I'm just like, I didn't even know. They'd pick me up and we'd go wherever. I had no idea where we were going. And then as I got older, and especially by this point, I don't do anything anymore. I don't spend any time with anybody that I don't want to be with. And I don't want to do. I just don't anymore because I'm thinking how many hours I got left. I'm not going to spend an hour with somebody I don't like to be with. So
I like the thought process. Yeah, I like it.
Bob thought I was a little harsh, but now he's come around to my my way of thinking, I think. But anyway,
well, that makes me happy. I mean, we just spent a week with you guys in December.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I guess we're top tier.
Oh yeah, you are top tier. You're like family, and that most of our New Mexico friends are like family. Anyway, so you guys have done
family.
You guys have done many things together as a couple. You're no longer working together, and but you've done marriage encounter through your church, and but you were Boy Scout leaders. And were Michael or there's two Michaels in your family, which is very confusing.
Correct.
I didn't know that at the time.
I know.
What's in a name? I don't
You
know.
had the-
I don't know what's
yeah.
in a name.
Yeah, you're going to meet another Michael down the road. It's going to be very confusing. But, I'm Susie number 4, so I understand that. It was very confusing in my house. So anyway, was one of your kids in Boy Scouts that you were leaders?
Well, both of them were in Scouts. Marcus was the older. Marcus is the older boy, and I think
He's a lawyer now.
he's a lawyer now. Yes. He's got a law degree. He's going to pass the bar soon enough. Yeah. And then Michael is also in Scouts. Michael made Eagle, so he went through the whole thing.
I know.
He's very, very proud of him. This one time we were camping, and me and Viv were leaders. But when you go camping, sometimes there's other troops there, if you will.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you see people that you don't know who they are. You see, the kids, but not the people.
The people, you mean the parents, or just
correct
random campers?
Yeah. And we were doing a small hike, and me and Vivian were there, and with a bunch of kids, and this one adult asked this child something, and the child was very rude, and that doesn't fly in our world. So I corrected the child. It was, it wasn't mean. I just, hey, you don't speak to adults like that. You need to be nicer. You need to apologize to him and do what he's asking you. And so the kid kind of looked at me and looked at the guy, and he's like, says, I'm sorry. And, he apologized, and then he did what the adult was asking him to do. And then we kind of fell back a little ways from the hikers, and my wife pulled me aside. She goes, I think that was his dad.
Why does I think? I said that was his dad.
So some people's children, I guess, they just run
You're
rampant.
raising men, and I appreciate you speaking up to him, because he needed to know that was not acceptable.
Right. No, it's not, even to your dad, especially to your dad.
That was our philosophy from the beginning. Is we want to raise men. We're not raising boys. We want to get our boys ready for the road, not the road ready for them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and that's good. I think I felt the same way, and thank God Bob came along, because I was a single mom with a child on the spectrum, and he needed a male influence, because I wouldn't even let him have a toy gun when he was little. But then he met Bob.
It doesn't get much more male than Bob. It really doesn't.
I know. I tend to like knuckle draggers. I really do. I don't know what it is. These new metrosexual guys that are all, in tight Pee Wee Herman suits, whatever. I'm like, that's not for me.
My wife likes the same thing.
I know. I know. I like a manly man, and they're erasing them in our culture, and I miss that.
My knuckles are bruised from running on the ground so much.
But you have Band-Aids. Anyway, so I will just want to talk about your last visit with us, which was, you said, we don't really need to go anywhere. We don't need to see anything. You don't need to be the tour guide. We just want to hang out with you guys in the house. I'm like, okay. And Vivian did have to work some of the time. Yeah. And I did too. And so it was fun, actually, to have somebody else working in the house.
Me and Bob spent a lot of time in the
Oh boy, did
shop.
You? Oh yeah. You were shopping out. Anyway, but there was a game that I wanted to play, and Bob didn't really seem interested in it. But the one thing I know about Michael and Vivian is I could say to them, okay, could you please do cartwheels while eating bananas?
I could try.
In a bounce house, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I could, and they would try it, and that's why we're friends, because the boring. Anyway, so when you visited, I wanted to play this game, and Michael, or Vivian, tell us about this game.
I'm going to mess up the title. What is it? Is it Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza?
You got it.
Oh wow! Wow, that's
Have you
just
ever
from
played
memory.
that?
What a title!
It is. I'm telling you.
So it's if you've never played it, it is just a deck of cards specifically made, not a standard deck, obviously. And it has pictures and the writing of each of those things. There's tacos, there's cats, there's goats, there's cheese, and there's pizza. And then there's 3 special cards. There's a narwhal.
That's me.
There is a gorilla.
Yeah.
There's a gorilla, and there is a groundhog. Now, the object of the game is to get rid of all of the cards in your hand.
Mhm.
And you pass them out, and as you lay your card down, you announce one item only, which is in order. So the first person says taco, and they flip a card. If that happens to be taco, everyone slaps the card
As hard as you can.
as hard.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Because what else do you do it?
Yes, exactly.
Or you lose. The last person to slap gets the card, and
I
this
prefer
goes
to
on.
be that because
Yes,
Michael
yes.
has hands like I don't know what. Like
I know
the
you see
Hulk.
him coming, and you
Yeah.
don't want to get in the way.
Exactly. I pulled my
You
hand back and
guys
then I went
are
on
just
top.
a bunch of sissies. My hands are normal size for a gorilla.
That's right. And I had bruised hands. My hands were so bruised after you guys left. I never took a
My
picture
knuckles.
of them. Yeah.
From the groundhog? Oh, that's torture. The worst
So
is when you
the-
can't figure out which is the right one and you do all of them because you
Oh,
guys are trying to
'cause
cover
I
it
do
all.
that.
Always did all of them. I could pull off a narwhal, a gorilla, and a groundhog, and still beat both of you to the slap.
I know. And I would get confused. They would have narwhal and I would do the tapping on the table or I did the wrong anyway.
My favorite part about that game is you just can't help but just laugh because it's so absurd,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying hard
Mm-hmm.
because you want to win.
Right.
It is hysterical, and before we left, you gave us a set, and we were
I
able
did
to play with our
I gave
kids.
it to you for Christmas.
Yeah, well, it was Hanukkah. It was
Hanukkah. Oh, that's right. It was Hanukkah. That's
Yeah,
right. You were there for
remember the
Hanukkah.
menorah? We had to drill out the menorah.
Yes, you had to drill out the manure, the wax from last year. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So for some reason, I didn't play the game. I was just sitting there watching it, and I thought it was just so silly and loud. And they'd scream and they'd yell and they'd slam the table and go bounce. And they scared the poop out of all of our animals. The dogs went into the bedroom. The cats, I don't know where the cats went. I think they opened up the cabinet doors and disappeared.
They came back out every time.
They
They
did.
couldn't understand what was going on with all this yelling and screaming and pounding and banging.
And an hour before they left, I said, we have time for one short game. So we played it and you brought it home and your kids love it, right?
Yes, they had
Yeah.
a blast.
Yeah. I haven't
They
played
had
it
a
with my
blast.
kids. I want to play it with Bob. I don't know if he would, anything that's ridiculous, silly, and stupid is, something I will like. So he likes, more brilliant things. And so, but I can't wait to play it with you guys again. And you were really fun. We played it when we were in New Mexico. We taught a few people how to play
Right,
it
we did.
when we got
did.
together that day.
Yeah.
And the half of the table played it, and the other half was very long, Last Supper table. The other half just watched us play it. And I think we were pretty entertaining. And I know that someone bought it they gave it to someone as a gift after seeing us play it. So anyway, I don't want our time to come to an end, but it has to now. And I just thank you guys, one, for loving us, and thank you guys for being on a podcast, and Michael for playing with Bob in the shop, and Zippy, you will be infamous.
Well, thank you for
guys
having
for having
us.
us.
Love you and miss you and can't wait to see you guys again.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Until next time. Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing, please share this with a friend and subscribe where you listen to podcasts. Please support our efforts through Patreon at TheKnifeWife, and for all Terzuola goodness, go to terzuola.net. And remember, if you're not laughing, you're not living. Comments and questions can be made on Instagram at The KnifeWife Podcast or our Facebook group, The KnifeWife Podcast. And if you're a couple who work together and would like to be on our podcast, tell us about yourself with an email at eccentricsuz.com or terzuola.net.